What's up, everybody? Extra Million here once again with Totally Sick Resident Evil Edition, and in this episode we'll be doing all of our cleaning up of the last stuff we need to do in the mansion before we can exit for good. The reason we saved in this save room is so that we can make our way to the little greenhouse area where we got our first death mask, so that we can pick up some herbs, just as added insurance for the next boss fight. We'll eventually be making our way back upstairs to a hidden area called the library, which is where you'll fight the snake, Yawn, for the second time. Or, well, I guess technically for the first time, since we basically ignored him on our first meeting. There are 4 green herbs in here left, and I would suggest you actually grab them all. The reason for that is because I always either seem to get grabbed by the zombie that's outside because the camera angle is positioned behind him, so it's kind of a shitty angle, or there's a crimson head that you need to run by as well, and I always seem to get hit either by him or this zombie, so it's kind of a toss-up. You'll need to start moving as soon as the area starts to load so that you can ignore that crimson head and avoid his attack. So we'll make our way up here, and then Yawn will show up, and then the boss fight will actually begin. Once we descend into this area, it is basically a large open room with a bookcase at the back. An easy way to fight Yawn, although it takes a while, is to basically circle him around this bookcase so that you're always stabbing him in the tail like that. The strategy for fighting him out here in the open is essentially the same. You'll always want to stay either at his tail or his back end and just keep running in a circle so that you're never anywhere near his head. I do get hit a couple of times, which is why I have the herbs for extra insurance, like I mentioned. Mostly because I got greedy and I tried to get, one extra hit in, and then by the time I was able to start moving, he had circled around and bit me. Another easy way to get greedy is if you run too close to his head area, he will loop around the other way so that you'll now be on the inside of his loop instead of the outside. As you can see, you don't have to aim down with the knife. His body is tall enough so that you can just do the normal swipes. So that was one example of me being a bit too greedy and trying to take one extra hit. Yawn can kill you in, I believe, about 3 hits, so try not to get it. One mistake I did make in this fight, besides getting hit, is I should have turned off auto-aim, because it will make Chris automatically target Yawn's head, which is obviously an area that we should never be anywhere near. Canonically, Yawn is actually one of the enemies that he's not a mistake. He was supposed to be bred as a bioorganic weapon. He just escaped into the Arclay Mountains and then eventually came back and made the mansion his home. And actually in the Resident Evil Deadly Silence, the DS version of Resident Evil 1, there's a second Yawn. There we go, he's dead. It wasn't too difficult of a fight. So now that he's dead and we have all of the items that we need, our main mission is to get to the underground caverns to Umbrella's lab. And the way that we do that is we have to go outside and use the battery on the little lifts so that we can unblock the area we need to get to with the crank. When you use the crank, it makes a waterfall over the area you need to get to, and the only way to get back down there with having the waterfall not be there is by activating the second elevator. In this area, to solve this little puzzle, you turn the lights off so that you can see the gems in each of the statue's eyes or the busts. And then push that little table over there. The gems will lock in place and not be able to be pulled out if that little eagle statue is looking at you. So you basically just make a loop around the room and then run over there so that you can grab it before it locks up. I'll dodge one more hunter here real quick. And then we'll make our way downstairs and have to solve another small puzzle. In this puzzle, you basically take a bunch of little metal pieces and slide them around until they make a shape. I have a little trouble getting the game to recognize the correct solution. So in the meantime, instead of watching me dick around trying to do this, I may as well share a somewhat amusing anecdote. Back in, say, the early 90s or mid-2000s, before the internet was really like a big thing, you mostly had to rely on game magazines like EGM or GamePro or like strategy guides to get most of your gaming news. And EGM in particular was notorious for their April issue, in which they would release basically an urban legend for their April Fool's Day. And one of them happened to be that you could somehow unlock Akuma from Street Fighter in Resident Evil 2. And they even had a convincing picture where they used Akuma's character model from one of the few fully 3D Street Fighter games, the Street Fighter EX series. Now, Resident Evil 2 did have quite a few secrets, including one very secret area that you could only access with both characters, Leon and Claire. It was an area at the very end of the game that you had to put in one character's thumbprint in the A scenario, and then with the second character in their B scenario, you had to put in their other thumbprint for the other character. And that got you a little area that I believe just had some interesting music that's not used anywhere else in the game. And it was a unique area, and I think all it contained was machine gun ammo, which normally you can't find anywhere else in the game. So out of that box, we got a key, which we'll use on this door here. Now, that little cutscene that I skipped when I entered this is Chris hears Rebecca upstairs. She screams because she's being attacked by a hunter. And you can either choose to save her, or you can choose to ignore her, which we will do. We'll ignore her. And I'll talk about the repercussions of that in the last video, most likely. In this little area coming up, try not to get attacked by the snakes here, because one hit will poison you, and it's quite a bit a ways from now where you'll be able to actually cure your poison. So we'll run past all these dogs and go back and use the crank, which fills this area back up with water so that there's no more waterfall blocking our way towards the underground area. And then we'll just dodge them all again and head back down the lift. And then we'll round the corner and dump all of our unnecessary items in the item box, and then save our game, and that's where we'll stop for this episode, and I will see you guys next time.